Sorry for this technical snag. So today we are going to start with some other networking concept, which will be related to OSI model, IP address, and some class of network, and network port, secure shell, and domain name system. These are the things. Okay. So let's start with the network port. Okay. So what you see is basically open system interconnect model. So this is famously known as OSI model. This was now why this model was created, because many type of computers started coming up, and if people try to communicate with each other in a different language, how to do it? So the ISO, International Standard Organization, decided to come with a standard protocol. If people follow that, they can communicate with each other. They made this model in the year 1976, but it was by the time it was implemented in 1986, it was not open system interconnect model. Actually, the model which we see nowadays is actually TCP/IP model. But the OSI model still is considered as a reference model. We will see why this model is considered reference model and how the TCP/IP model is related to it. So basically, in open system interconnect model, there are 7 layers: application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer. Easy to remember will be all people seems to need data processing. So A, B, S, T, N, D, P. So that's how we can to remember it. And the first 3 layers, or you can call it from the sender side, if you are coming from top, the first 3 layer is known as software layer, application layer, presentation layer, session layer. Then there is a transport layer, which is the heart of OSI model, which do a lot of tasks and give interconnection between the bottom hardware layer and the top software layer. The hardware layers are network layer, data link layer, physical layer. As I said, the OSI model is only a reference model. Actually implemented model is TCP/IP model. But we even now, any hardware, etc., we buy like hub, bridge, we refer to this OSI model layer. TCP/IP model layer is not usually referred. When the reference is made, this reference is made to the OSI model. But it's a legacy, you can call it, especially the network administrator. It's a lingo of network administrator who work, and they can easily correlate with OSI model. Now, to understand like what is the what will be the first layer and what will be the last layer. So it will depend from where we are looking. If we are looking from the sender side, which is from this side, then the application layer is the first layer. But if we are looking from the receiver side, then the application layer will be the last layer. So if someone asks you what is the first layer, then the point comes from which direction you are looking into. So if we are looking from the sender side, then the application layer is the first layer, physical layer is the last layer. Now, how does this OSI model or the layer work? Yes, how will we know that this is working or like that, right? So I have come up with a very one example, which is not exactly the OSI model, but it is a kind of example by which we can correlate with how this layer formation working. So it is an analogous example, not exactly. Later on, I will tell how what OSI model is. So I am taking a real example which can help in understanding. So let's say this left side, the sender side is a company and whose CEO is Andy, and Andy sits in the application layer. And now Andy is a French person, and he speaks in French. Okay. Now he got this 400 page of document written in French. Okay. And he said that, okay, send this document to a company which is in the right side, let's say XYZ company. And that company, the CEO or that company understand in English. They do not understand Russian. So Peter knows it. Now Peter said that, okay, I got this document in French, and if I send this document to the company, then they will not be able to understand it. So what it will do, it is going to translate the 400-page French document into an English document. So it is doing the presentation of the document which can suit to the other party. Now it is going to pass it to Sandy, and Andy has given the direction to Peter that this document has to reach by today. And the company which is Andy is a CEO, it is in Tromso. And the other side, the company is in, let's say, Narvik. Okay, now they are sending the document to some company in Narvik, and they say that you have to send it by today. Now Peter translated into the presentable format, which other side will understand. And it is going to pass it to Sandy and say that, Sandy, this has to go by today to so-and-so company. Okay. Now what Sandy will do, it is going to, Sandy is going to create a session with the other side. And Sandy is going to transfer this data to Tyra. And then Tyra is going to give the data to Nancy, and Nancy is going to give data to Duke, and Duke is going to give data to Paul. Now, how they are going to do it? So when the Peter gives the 400-page translated document to Sandy, and then Sandy is going to call to the other side. Okay, hello, are you open today? And they will say, yeah, I'm open today. I'm going to send you the data today. Will you be able to receive it? Then they will say, going to receive it. So the connection is established. Then what Sandy will say, okay, the company is open and the session has been made. So it is going to give the data to Tyra. Now Tyra is going to see that this is a 400-page document. And this data, if I send it, if it gets lost in a packet, so by post, then if one data is lost, then everything is going to get lost. So what it is going to do, it is going to divide the data into 4 packets of 100 page each. And it is going to number it 1, 2, 3, 4. So if one is get lost, then the retransmission can be done. Okay, so the complete will not be lost. Now Tyra is going to pass it to Nancy and to say that this has to be sent. So what Nancy will see that, okay, this is a 100-page document or 4 packet each, but there is no to and from, means where is a sender and where is a receiver is not there. So just like a post, what Nancy will do, Nancy will put to and from, like from where the source and what is the destination. And it is going to transfer this data to Duke. Now Duke will say that, okay, to and from is there, but the packet, all packets are open. So what it is going to do, it is going to do a seal on the envelope. It's like so that if people open it, then the other side will know that this data is not yet, some data leakage has happened, someone has seen it. So it is going to put a seal on it. And the Nancy will also tell Duke that what path to take. So Nancy will say that, okay, don't go by this this pathway, take the national route, let's say number 6. So take the national route. I don't know whether Narvik NH6 goes or not, but let's assume that NH6 goes to Narvik, and it will tell Duke, okay, take this route. So it is also telling the route and also to and source and destination to Duke, and Duke is going to put seal on it, and it is going to transfer to Paul. Now Paul task is, and Paul has been also got a direction from Duke that this has to go to the office in Narvik, and the path you have to take via National Route 6. So Paul is going to send this sealed envelope 4 packets to the other side. The other side, the similar representative like Paul in the other side, he is going to see, okay, I got this packet and it is a sealed packet, so it is okay. There is no problem with it. So I can pass it to the next layer. And in the next person is going to see, okay, there is a packet, seal is there. So let me remove the seal. And as I have seen that this data is intact, there is no one has seen it. So it is going to pass it to the next person, which is another representative like Nancy in the other side. And the person will see here to and from is there. So it is for me. So we are the right person, and to already is our client. So it is going to give it to the another person, which is a similar person like Taya in the other company. And the person will see, I got this 100 page numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is going to give it back to next person, which is a station like Sandy person in the other side. And in the other side, it will see that, okay, I got this from this person, and then it is going to make a call to Sandy that, yes, I have received the data. And after saying it, I have received all the data correctly, the connection will be disconnected, because Sandy will know that, yes, I have sent the data and it has received in a proper format, no problem. And that's how this will go. So this is an example how yes, there is a question like where IP and TCP IP will be used in this model. I will explain where it will be used and how it is related to it. This is just analogous story that how this is happening. Now, if we go to next, right? So now assume that the same thing happening in how it is related to OSI model, this story. So what Sandy did, it made a connection. So the session layer will do the connection. Now, what application layer means? Application layer is like our browser or our computer interface. But let's say if we have a file with .mp3, and we have a file like docs, docs. Now, in the presentation layer, how the computer understand that I should be using MP3 player or I should be using MS Word. So from the extension in the presentation layer, it will understand that this should be played using the MP3 layer. So the presentation layer task is how to present it. And then the session layer is going to make connection. And what the transport layer did, transport layer did segmentation of the data. So it received the data, and what it will do, it will segment the data into parts. And then from the segmentation, it went down to, you see, end user layer is basically the HTTP, FTP, SSH, where you are using to connect to Azure. And then presentation layer will say that with what format it will be presented. And then session layer will establish the session, and it will also say what port number to be used. So like you had used made in the PuTTY connection, connection number, port number 22. And in SSH also you use port number 22. And in the transport layer, it is divided the data. So the segmentation is done. And in the network layer, it has been converted to packet. And then it passed to the data link layer where the frame has been done. So analogous will be like putting a seal on it. And then finally, it is passed to the physical layer. And from physical layer, it can get transferred to the other side via actual cable or via wireless mode. Both way, it can be transferred. So now how this is related to the TCP/IP. So if we see what actually implemented, so OSI model was a reference model, how it got implemented. So if you see in OSI model, there are only 4 layers are there: the network interface layer, the internet layer, transport layer, and application layer. The OSI had 7 layers. So what they have done, the data link layer and a physical layer, they made it a network interface layer. The data is also bits and frame, while the bits was in the physical layer and frames was in the data link layer. The network layer, which was in the OSI layer, which was getting the data as a form of packet. In the TCP/IP, it is an internet layer, and here also the data is in the form of packet. In transport layer, what it does, it did a segmentation, and here the protocol like TCP, UDP is there. What is a TCP, UDP, we will see in the next slide. And the TCP/IP also, there's a transport layer where the data is segmented. And instead of having 3 layer in the OSI, in TCP/IP, there is 1 layer, which is an application layer, which is doing all the job what session layer, presentation layer, and application layer was doing in OSI. So in TCP/IP, they decided, okay, we don't need so complication of 3 layer. We can do everything in application layer, like presentation, encryption, establishing the session, and everything, we can do it. So is that clear? Now, are you able to know what is the connection of TCP/IP with this? So I took this previous example to understand that because initially, if we say how, it means I have this 7 layer and this is how it is there. It is, even when I was a student, it was difficult for me to understand, okay, these layers are there, then how the communication is happening. Means when we start, we think like, okay, actually physical layer is there. But if we see, mostly there is some software layer and the remaining is a hardware layer, and there is 1 transport layer. And to understand the data is transmitting 1 by 1 different, you can understand that different APIs are there, or applications are there, or softwares are there within it, which is actually has a defined task to do. Like to presentation layer will have a task to make it presentable or encrypt it. And the session layer will have a task to create the session. So the data transmission happening 1 by 1, and different type of algorithm are working on it, or different type of hardwares are working on it. But when we go into TCP/IP, we see that there is only 1 hardware layer, which is a network interface layer. And in that, the Ethernet you apply, or RS-232, or DSL cable, or optical fiber cable, everything can go to network interface. So what model we see in the current time is actually a TCP/IP model by which internet is communicated. I hope the protocol and TCP/IP model and OSI model more or less clear. Now there was something called IP address, right? So now IP address is an internet protocol address, and Actually, if we go for IPv4, it will be a 32-bit address, but IPv6 128-bit. But they are represented in a human readable format like 192.0.2.1. So every dot before is actually 8-bit, which is actually value is 192. This one is also 8-bit, but numerical value in a human format, readable format is 0, and readable format is 2, and that one. So this is basically the address of a particular device on the internet by which a computer will be connected. So whenever we are doing the connection from one device to other device, or we are connecting to the outside world, this IP address will be there. Every device will have an IP address. Any device which is connecting to the internet will have the IP address, and they will have the network interface number or some kind of, either it will be a hardware or by software, the network interface number will be defined. How to know the IP address if we like to know? So if we go to command prompt in Windows, if we do IP, so we can see all the network detail of the computer, like, and this IPv4 address is 129.242.93.159. So this is a kind of, you can understand, if you have Linux system, then there is a different way of doing it. If you simply want to know only the IP config, then simply IP config you can see, and also you can see the subnet mask is here. What is the default gateway of this computer? Okay, so an IP address serves two functions. It has a host as well as network interface identification number for location and addressing. So within this core code, it also has host information and also has location information. So depending on what classful of IP address is, there will be 24-bit or 16-bit or 8-bit will be used for host, and remaining bit will be used for location and addressing. It is written in a human readable notation like 192, like this way, and each part represents a group of 8-bit, and 8-bit is known as octet. For IPv4, 32-bit is used, and for IPv6, 128-bit is used. Presently, when we are connecting in the internet, because the number of IP address available for IPv4 format is not enough, more use right now is IPv6, which has 128-bit. So the number of devices who can get unique IP address for their device, we have more options. So IPv6 came when IPv4 became insufficient for use. So there are more detailed, more information on IPv4. You can read more why IPv6 came and why IPv4 became insufficient. So after going for internet protocol address, IP address, the another thing to note is a classful network like class A, class B, class C. Classful network was used until 1993, but from 1993, same classful network, a new notation has came up, which is called classless internet domain routing. But for as a network administrator, when they will talk like, oh, what class address it is, or class A, B, C. So for class A, B, C, to understand that in a class A, the size of the network number is 8-bit. So the first octet is considered only the host, and remaining is for addressing. So the number of network available is 128, and most of these networks are actually reserved network. But the number of addresses available are quite a lot, like 2 to the power 24 minus 1. And start address for this is from 00 to 127.255. And similarly, for class B, it is a 16-bit used for host, and the 16-bit is used for addressing. And number of addresses available are around 65,535. It is 2 to the power 16 minus 1. And the start address will be 128.002.191.255. For different kind of what network, because if you go and read, you will find that there is a defined network address and reserved network address for Apple. There is a reserved network address for US defense. All this internet came from there, so they were the one first to reserve these network addresses for them. And we mostly use beyond 127 port number. Before that, very less addresses are available to be used. Our devices are mostly using 192 to 223 network address. So nothing to worry about that detail, what class C or class B or class C. Presently, we are using this CIDR, trustless internet domain routing. And the other detail will be the same, like this much address is available from this to this. There is a slight change is there if we go in a classless about. So there what will be there is that some will be reserved and remaining will be available for public use. So this is a very in a brief, what is a classful network. Okay. Then there comes the network port. Now the network port, as we have seen in the session layer, their task is to define what port to be used. The port is basically a communication endpoint. So if I say port number 22 of the laptop which I'm using, so if anyone wants to use port number 22 to send do SSH connection with my computer with the IP address, then they can do this use port number 22. So some of the port are defined to do a certain task, but there are ports which are not defined to certain tasks, and there are many ports are available to do it. And port number is basically a 16-bit unsigned integer. And so the number of ports available for networking is 65,535. There are ports which is from 0 to 1023. Those are well-known ports. And there are some port reserved for certain tasks. Those are registered port 1024 to 49,151. And remaining port can be used for other tasks. Like I was looking the War of Warcraft, there is a game. They use certain defined port for their game to communicate with other users who are using the same game. So those network-based game, they use a certain port for their gaming device as well. Port numbers are usually associated with an IP address, like this IP address host and what is a protocol we are going to use, whether it is a TCP protocol or UDP protocol. Now, what is a TCP protocol, a UDP protocol, we will see in the next. So to understand the port, what is a port in analogous term, like it is a house number, okay, in a certain address, or you can call it like someone house number is 12 or 101, like that. So with that house number, that person can be located in that particular area. So in a particular computer, all these ports are actually a logical port. We are not talking about the hardware port. These are all software ports, logical ports. If we say port number 20, this is actually logical port number 20. This is a software port. And all in the internet, the vulnerability you see, the hacking you see is all happen The primary reason is that one of these ports will remain open or became vulnerable or hackable, and via which the hackers or some bad people try to get access to the computer you are using or some server people are using. So if you further read the software engineering course or other course, you will know that why the ports are not always closed, why ports are kept open, because basic thing is that for ease of understanding, like why should I close port number 22? Because port number 22 is for secure connection and some connection I might like to establish. And for doing that connection, some username and password is there, and that is already protecting my system, and it is already an encrypted from one particular person to other one. A person has to know a particular address and the password to get connected. So for ease of, otherwise our computer device will be a completely analogous device with the hardware key and everything. It will be less usable, but the ease of usability also bring the vulnerability. So what is a TCP and UDP? So it is, I'm talking this in a very brief. There are much more in TCP UDP, but basic key points I am telling. So TCP is basically a transmission control protocol, and UDP is Universal Datagram Protocol. This is the name of the TCP and UDP. Some also call it the universal, instead of they call it Users Datagram Protocol. TCP is basically connection oriented. That means for if you say that I want to use TCP protocol and this port number, that means when we are establishing a TCP protocol, then the connection has to establish. That means one computer has to tell to the other computer, okay, I want to establish the connection. Are you ready for it? So it's to and fro acknowledgement and connection is going to be needed, right? So but in UDP, the connection is not needed. UDP can simply broadcast the data. And if you want to see the example, like a YouTube video, what we see is basically transfer via the UDP, because in UDP is a very fast. It doesn't need to all the time establish the connection and to take the acknowledgement whether you have received it or not, etc. So the Zoom is also on UDP. It doesn't, if some snag or slag happens, the Zoom doesn't, the requirement is not that every data has to come or every frame has to come. If it doesn't come, okay, I move on to the next timestamp. So in YouTube also, if some snag happen, then it's okay. It is just to transmit and people just want to see. So UDP is very, very fast, while TCP is relatively slow compared to UDP. But TCP is reliable. But if you want to send data, which we want a reliability to be there, means whatever number of data we are giving, it has to be received in exactly same format and every data has to be reached, then we are going to use a TCP connection. But if we are not worried about every data has to be received, we just want to be fast, then UDP is used. So in UDP, data loss can happen due to packet drop. There can be packet drop, can have many reasons. The network bandwidth not availability enough is also a reason. Network bandwidth mismatch from one side to other side is also a reason. Like in YouTube, we have seen there are different formats are there, like 1080p format, HD format, 720 format, 420 format, 360p format. So depending on whose bandwidth is what, YouTube automatically transfer the format the data into that format so that user can see. But data loss do happen. But in TCP, the data loss, if happen, then in TCP connection, the retransmission can happen. So in TCP, what happened that other side will say that, okay, I have received packet number 1, packet number 3, and packet number 4. I have not received the packet number 2. So then the other side will see, okay, the person has not received the packet number 2. Then if it is a TCP connection, then it can retransmit and transfer the packet number 2. and the other side, then it will receive it and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, I have received. That's how the TCP is a reliable one. The data loss will happen, then it can retransmit and the complete data will be received. So there are many common ports are there. Like some common ports, like if you are doing a file transfer from one computer to other, the port number 20 or 21 is used. For telnet connection, before the secure cell connection or secure connection came, people used to use telnet to transmit data from one place to other or to connection. It was not a secure connection, but port number 23 was used. 95, 90s, that time telnet was used. Our Outlook or the mail, etc., actually is using SMTP, which is port number 25. If you want to establish a mail transfer protocol server, then port number 25 has to be used and for mail server. For internet, like when we establish many course we will study, if you are establishing local proxy server, then for HTTP they use port number 80. Or internet, the browser is using actually port number 80 to do the connection with the host address. So if you are using the google.com and the browser is coming up, that browser and the Chrome browser is actually using port number 80 to establish the connection with the server. Then the POP, the post office protocol, like we get POP message in our Outlook. So Outlook or the mail server can do the connection with different way. They can use POP, they can use IMAP, they can use SMTP. So depending on what is the requirement, the POP connection is used, IMAP connection is used. So for those type of services, there are defined port numbers there. And for HTTPS means more secure hypertext transfer protocol, port number is 443. Like banking services, when you see HTTPS is there, they are using port number 443. For domain name system, like what is a server name, the port number 53 is used. DNS is used widely on public internet and on private network to translate the domain name into the IP address. So DNS does the job to transfer the domain name. Like when we are seeing google.com, the DNS with port number 53 is converting the google.com to the IP address of the google.com server. So it does for network routing. Now, there are other details are there, but basically domain name system DNS task is to convert the IP address from domain name to the defined IP address. This particular domain is being hosted at a particular server. We had used in our colloquium the port number 22 to establish the secure shell connection. It is primarily used to manage the network devices securely. Means we are doing a secure connection. No one else can read because the data is going encrypted and encryption keys are there. But if we are doing telnet, which is in port number 25, which does not do secure connection, telnets are not used anymore. It can be used in the local home network, where the chances of people coming within your own network or within your own private network is less. So from within my home, I can use to connect from one computer to another, I can use telnet. SSH is more secure network and it uses the port number 22. And again, I am telling all this port is actually a logical port and the port numbers are from 0 to 65,535. Some of the ports are reserved, some of the ports are defined for certain tasks, but the rest of the port can be used. If any of you are using torrent kind of thing or might have seen or read about it, the torrent uses a certain port number, but those port number can be changed. Now, DHCP is used for mostly the web server where the computers are hosted. So when we are using the dynamic IP address, that time the dynamic host configuration protocol is used, where the IP address are changing dynamically and not using the static IP address. But most of the website, they use static IP address. Otherwise, communication is going to be problematic. But within the private network or within the company, they are using a dynamic IP address because static IP address are expensive and one has to pay for it to the authority who are maintaining the static IP address. Okay. And in dynamic IP address, the IP address is not permanent. As the network connection go away, the IP address will go away. It has to be again made a new IP address. Whenever you are making a new connection, a new IP address will be there. So with this, I did plan to have a case study, but we can do it next time. Do you have any questions on this thing or any other topic you would like to discuss or read? So any questions you have? These are the basic concept, and again, I will say that all this networking concept going to be useful for your colloquium. Yes. So see, the question is that the MAC address are used in a way for communication outside the LAN or only IP. So MAC address is a defined address for every devices. If it has a MAC card, network interface card, then that will have a MAC address. MAC address has some role in outside, but it is primarily used in a LAN. It has some role outside as well. But if a MAC address is a very lower level of address, if you see in the OSI layer, the MAC address belong to the data link layer. And that up to data link layer, hacking is going to be very difficult. Crossing the application, presentation, and everything, it is going to be hard. But people can do if we have kept our computer. If we are keeping our doors open, anyone can enter. If there's no lock is not made. Yes, when we are having the IP address receive a lot of information, but not all the information, every layer is going to make use of it. So the layer which is defined for certain tasks, they are going to use it. So the hackers, if you people are interested in hacking, then there are ethical hacking online lectures and etc. are there. If you want to read, you can view, you can read on them. Most of the hacking happens because we have kept our port open. The thing which you see in the movie, that way of hacking is actually not happening. Recently, there is a Pegasus. There is a software company. Name of the software is a Pegasus, and that is actually doing hacking or reading all the government authority and celebrity or there and making it release their calls, the detail, their whatever they are talking, whatever who they are talking. All this Pegasus software can do, but Pegasus cannot do automatically. The user might have clicked some link, and due to that, it is able to establish its root connection inside the mobile phone or something. Without we giving the access to anyone or keeping the door open to anyone, hacking is not going to be possible. We have to, if we are keeping our thing vulnerable, if a link came to our mobile phone, let's say in a WhatsApp, and we press some unauthorized link, and by that the software is established. But Pegasus is not easy to get. This software company is selling this software only to the government agency. They are not selling it to public. There's a lot of controversy on Pegasus in almost every country in Europe or in India or many places. In India also, the case has gone up. It was meant, the Pegasus were actually meant to reduce the terrorism in the world and bad people, identifying the location of the bad people, terrorists, and the people who are doing some kind of crime related to child, etc. So, but this seems like this software are getting used much more than the terrorism prevention and avoidance. Anyway, thank you all. We will see again on Thursday lecture. We will move to the next topic of cloud computing. Thank you very much. If you have any other question, any other topic you want to know about the networking, we can cover it in the next, which is related to our colloquium, or any other topic you want to discuss on networking. Thank you very much. See you again. I hope this today's lecture will be useful for you to understanding the Azure and colloquium and more about the cloud computing. So I'm ending this session and going to see you again on Thursday. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.